Good morning, friends. I thought we'd slow it down a little bit and today talk about a Stokes interview. So, if you and your spouse get called into USCIS for an interview and they decide to interview just one of you at a time, that's called a Stokes interview. It's named after a famous case. And what that means is the USCIS is not convinced that your marriage is real. They want to do some probing, some questioning to figure out whether or not this is a legitimate marriage or was it entered into just to obtain an immigration benefit. So typically, they'll take the petitioner first. The petitioner is usually the U.S. citizen. They could be a green card holder, but most of the time they're a citizen. They bring the citizen in first, they put them under oath, and then they ask them a series of questions. They're going to ask questions about the relationship, about the marriage. They're going to ask about conditions in the house. They're going to ask about work schedules and how you leave the house and when you leave the house and when your partner leaves the house, what's their work schedule. They might ask questions of the U.S. citizen about the petitioner's birthday or their family of origin, their brothers and sisters. And then they're going to do that for about a half hour for 45 minutes. After that, they'll bring in the beneficiary and they will ask whether all those same questions and whether the answers match. They want to see if your answers are legitimate. And you'd be surprised. It's very hard to predict what questions are going to be asked in a Stokes interview, but you'd be surprised at how I'd say 10 or 20 questions can really demonstrate whether a marriage is legit or not. Obviously, USCIS makes mistakes sometimes. Sometimes they give a Stokes interview when they shouldn't. Sometimes they decide that a marriage isn't real when it is, and vice versa. But it's interesting to see, having sat through many, many Stokes interviews, how often USCIS seems to get it right, how often they are able to, just by finding discrepancies in the stories. Sometimes they make way too much of a discrepancy, but other times, and a discrepancy is when the answers don't match. So when the answers don't match, it's surprising how USCIS is able to figure that out. And like I said, they get it wrong a lot. So one of the downsides of not bringing a lawyer to your marriage-based green card interview is that you don't have someone in there comparing notes. So if I'm in there as the attorney and taking notes during a Stokes interview, I'm going to write down every single question and I'm going to write down exactly what is said, because sometimes the officer's notes don't reflect reality. Sometimes they try to stretch things and to make marriages look like they're not legit. So having a third party in there who can tell you afterwards how you did, how your answers matched, and sort of where the problems are, that can be really helpful, and also set you up for success if they try to deny the case. So that's one little plug for bringing an attorney to your green card interview. But overall, some officers will ask you to come in and they'll bring the two parties back together after they've been separated, and they might give you the chance to explain why there's discrepancies between the answers. And I think that's the professional way to do it. That's the best way to do it, because the officer should be a neutral decision maker. They shouldn't have an agenda. And sometimes discrepancies are big and sometimes discrepancies are small. And on the small stuff, I think officers that are sophisticated enough and have done this enough know that sometimes little mistakes get made. My wife and I have been married now 25, 26 years, and I'm sure that if somebody brought us in and asked us all the same Stokes questions, that we would get some wrong. And so it's not a 100% accurate test, but it's surprising how often they are able to uncover some things by asking simple, everyday questions about the couple's lives. And so that's what happens at a Stokes interview. You might afterwards get an approval, you might get a notice of intent to deny, or you might get a straight denial after a Stokes interview. So things are serious when you get a Stokes interview. You know, these days with Biden having not interviewed everybody, and with Trump getting ready to say that everybody has to get interviewed, I think we're going to see an increase in the number of Stokes interviews. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, or you want to get our help with your immigration case, you can call us 314-961-8200 or email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. We also have a Facebook group. It's free. There's like 14,000 people in there. You can join it. It's called Immigrant Home. We also have our YouTube channel where I post 3 videos a week, and I go live 3 or 4 times a week. And it's just me answering questions for an hour from anybody who wants to ask me. If you want to get the link to get into the waiting room to ask me, you can text the word SHOW, SHOW, to 314-470-3300. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.